The United Kingdom, also known as the UK, is located on the northwestern coast of Europe, and it is Europe's largest island. To give an idea as to the size of the United Kingdom, it is 94,060 square miles. That's about 57% the size of California. The southern tip of England to the northern end of Scotland would stretch from Los Angeles to the Oregon border. Texas is almost 3 times larger than the United Kingdom. The population in the U.S. is almost 5 times that of the UK. However, the average age and gender ratio are quite consistent between the two. The UK is on a common law system. Unlike statutory provisions, which are laws that are codified as acts of Parliament, the common law is constantly changing. This is because of the fluid way in which judges interpret the law using their knowledge of legal example and common sense of applying the facts of the case they are hearing to those prior decisions. The common law ensures that the law remains common throughout the land. As for the criminal division, it is the House of Lords and the Court of Appeal that create the legal precedent in relation to criminal matters in England and Wales. The real authority in the British government and political system now rests with the Prime Minister. It had once belonged predominantly to the monarch. The governmental model consists of the constitutional monarchy and parliamentary system. The monarch still has a role to play on some executive and legislative levels, but it is the Parliament which possesses the essential legislative power, and the government of the day which governs. The correct constitutional definition of Parliament is the Queen and Parliament. All states and governmental business is carried out in the name of the monarch by the politicians and officials. In constitutional theory, the British people hold the political sovereignty to choose their government, while Parliament, consisting partly of their elected representatives and the Commons, possesses the legal sovereignty to make laws. The monarch is formally the head of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. In the English monarchy, succession to the throne is still hereditary.
The United Kingdom is the third largest economy in Europe. It is a mixed economy, whereas the United States favors more of a market economy. The United Nations lists the United Kingdom and United States very high on the Human Development Index at 0.907, with the highest value being at 1. Both countries have long life expectancies, high education attainment, and incomes able to support basic needs. The economic freedom of both the United Kingdom and the United States is mostly free. These values have been consistent over 20 years, hovering around the value of 75. Services such as banking, insurance, and business services are key drivers of the UK's GDP growth. The GDP for the United States in total is much larger at $17.9 trillion than the United Kingdom at $2.8 trillion, whereas the GNI for the United States is at $17.6 trillion and the UK is at $2.8 trillion. GDP per capita and the GNI per capita run very similarly over the past 20 years, and both have continued to see these values climb. The GDP per capita for the United Kingdom is approximately $39,000, compared to the United States at $54,000. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit the economy particularly hard due to the importance of its financial sector. Falling home prices, high consumer debt, and the global economic slowdown pushed the economy into recession in the later half of 2008. The GDP growth rate for both the United Kingdom and the United States suffered due to this recession, both dropping into negative growth rates. Both have rebounded well since this crisis. Both the United Kingdom and the United States have comparable inflation rates over the years. 2015 inflation rates for the UK are at 0.1%. The two countries have similar unemployment rates that mirror with the recessions that have occurred over the years. In 1980s and 2009, you will see an increase in unemployment. Foreign direct investments are very similar in that both appear to move in similar directions at the same time over 25 years. The United States in volume does more, but what stands out as interesting, as you can see on the FDI outflows, is that the United Kingdom significantly reduced their outflow in 2014. The imports and exports valued in U.S. dollars trend similarly over time with the exception of 1992. The UK sees a significant drop in imports and exports during this time. The total imports total $617 billion. The main import partners with the United Kingdom are Germany, China, the United States, and Netherlands. Whereas for the United States, it is China, Mexico, Canada, and Japan. The exports for the United Kingdom hover around $442 billion and products and services. The main export products for the United Kingdom are manufacturing, gems, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and oil. And for the United States, the main export products are machinery, electronics, aircraft, and automobiles.
Concerning the foreign exchange rate of the UK, the British pound to the US dollar is driven by the performance of the UK's economy relative to that of the US. The UK remains the strongest economy in Europe. The outlook for the British pound to the US dollar exchange rate remained bleak after the financial crisis of 2008. The long-term chart shows that the British pound is nowhere near its pre-recession peak of US $2.08. After the 2008 high, the British pound fell sharply, declining 35%. The British pound global financial recession lows near US $1.40 in January of 2009. Since that date, the British pound has partially recovered, but largely remained range-bound. From 2009 to 2015, the British pound has stayed between US $1.42 and $1.71. There are many languages across the UK. It is estimated that over 95% of the British population are monolingual English speakers. There are various minority Celtic languages, and speakers of these are invariably bilingual English speakers. In Scotland, 1.4% speak Scottish Gaelic, as well as English. In Northern Ireland, 6.6% of the population are bilingual in Irish Gaelic and English. In Wales, 21% also speak Welsh. Welsh is the only Celtic language that enjoys official status. In Scotland, Northern Ireland, and some border areas of England, Scots is a distinct minority language, although at times it overlaps with Scottish English. There are also large numbers of community languages brought into the country and sustained by recent immigrant communities, which account for more than 5.5% of the population. The largest group are South Asian languages such as Bengali, Punjabi, Hindi, and Gurwara. Other community languages include Italian, Polish, Greek, and Turkish. 45% of the total ethnic minority population lives in London, but community languages are spoken throughout the United Kingdom. There are 7 social classes in the UK. The first is elite. This is the wealthiest and most privileged group in the UK. They went to private schools and elite universities and enjoy high cultural activities. Second is the established middle class. This second wealthiest of all class groups. They work in traditional professions and socialize with a wide variety of people. They take part in a wide variety of cultural activities. Third is the technical middle class. This is a small, distinctive, and prosperous new class group. They prefer emerging cultures such as social media and mix mainly among themselves. They come from middle class backgrounds. Fourth is the new affluent workers. These people are economically secure without being well off. This class group is sociable, has lots of cultural interest, and sits in the middle of all the groups in terms of wealth. They are likely to come from working class backgrounds. Fifth, traditional working class. This group is the oldest average age. They are likely to own their own homes. They mix among themselves and don't enjoy emerging culture. Sixth is the emergent service workers. These young people have high social and cultural capital, so they know people from all walks of life and enjoy a wide range of cultural activities but are not financially secure. Seventh is the precariat, the poorest and most deprived social group. They tend to mix socially with people like themselves and do not have a broad range of cultural interest. More than 80% rent their homes. Hofstede's cultural data tells us a lot about the UK. At 35, Britain sits in the lower rankings of power distance. They are a society that believes that inequalities amongst people should be minimized. Although there are inherent tensions in the British culture between the importance of birth rank on the one hand and deep-seated belief that where you are born should not limit how far you go in life, a sense of fair play drives a belief that people should be treated in some way as equals. At a score of 89, the UK is amongst the highest of the individualist scores, beaten only by some of the Commonwealth countries it spawned. Australia, and the US. The British are a highly individualist and private people. Children are taught from an early age to think for themselves and to find out what their unique purpose in life is and how they can contribute to society. The route to happiness is through personal fulfillment. At 66, Britain is a masculine society, highly success-oriented and driven. Critical to understanding the British is being able to read between the lines. This is compared to the U.S. score of 62. The British, however, have the same culture in this respect. The difference is a reflection of the higher score of the U.S. on uncertainty avoidance than of the U.K. In other words, in both societies, we find the same drive, but Americans show it up front, whereas the British will take you by surprise. In the Tromponiers' 7 dimensions of culture, the UK and the US are very similar across the board. They are both high on particularism, individualism, specific, internal, and they are around 44 on the neutral scale. The only difference is achievement and ascription. The US is very high achievement culture, and the UK is more of a ascribed culture.
We're going to look at technology as it pertains to the UK. We will look at the percentage of GDP that the United Kingdom spends on research and development. Research and development can increase technological innovation and help boost the economy. As seen on the graph, the US spends more money on research and development than the UK does every year. We will also take a look at the Networked Readiness Index. The index ranks the United Kingdom as number 8 on the 2015 report, with an overall score of 5.6. It is ranked number 4 in individual usage and number 6 in social impacts. Next, we will discuss intellectual property by looking at the number of patents and trademark applications from residents in the United Kingdom. According to the graph, there's been a decline in both patent and trademark applications by residents in the past couple of years, compared to the US, who has seen a significant increase in applications. Patents provide protection for inventions to the owner for a limited period, and this declining trend may obstruct the UK's technological competitiveness in the international markets. In the case of scientific and technical journals, there have been a slight increase in the number of journals that has been published every year. We will now look at the environment as it relates to the United Kingdom. The 2016 Yale Environment Performance Index ranks the UK as 12th in the world. It's scored at number 4 in water resources and number 12 in biodiversity and habitats. The most significant improvement has been in air quality, as the UK has been taking steps to reduce air pollution and also tackle climate change. The US, on the other hand, ranks at number 26, surpassing the UK only in air quality, fisheries, and agriculture. Next, we're going to take a look at the legal system of the United Kingdom. Just like the US, the UK has a common law system. At the top is the Supreme Court, which hears appeals from courts in England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Underneath are the civil and criminal courts, both of which have courts of appeal. The criminal division has the Crown Court and magistrate courts, while the civil division has the high and county courts. Finally, we're going to talk about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that the United Kingdom may face. There are a number of strengths ranging from having an advantageous trading position to foreign direct investments. The UK is the number 2 destination for investments coming from emerging markets after the US. Some of the weaknesses are its low levels of research and development compared to the US and other parts of Europe, and also its elevated housing prices. Some of the opportunities that the UK has are new trade partners due to more lenient trade rules coming up all over Europe, Middle East, and Asia. The UK can also invest in the technology industry if it cannot create a booming industry like the US has. The threats that the UK may face include worker business relocation. UK's overcrowded, expensive cost of living may have people and businesses considering going somewhere else with a lower overhead cost. The UK may also face the threat of increased competition and financial crisis.